Welcome, everyone. My name is Matthew Perry, and I'd like to welcome you to All Around Spurgeon. And the topic for today is going to be biographies. If there's been anyone who has been the subject of so many biographies, it's Charles Haddon Spurgeon. And so that is really a testimony to the life and ministry that he has had. And the thing with biographies is, like I said, there's a lot of them. So any of us that decide that we are going to lean in and say, I'm going to write a little biography of Spurgeon, whether it's a little paper or whether it's a book of any size, we have our work cut out for us because there have been so many biographies, both good and really terrible, that have been written in the past that you've really got to dig and do your research on any biography that you do, regardless of the size of it, to make sure that you are not moving and perpetuating errors that just need to be fixed. And so what I want to do is, here's the thing that made me think about this. It's a couple of things. Well, one, as I've mentioned to you, thanks to Acoma Press for allowing me to write this little biography. I mean, these pages are probably 5, 6, 7 pages a piece on really some of the, if you look at any biography and you look at the table of contents, a lot of them are going to hit the same things. They're going to hit about his upbringing. They're going to hit about his conversion, about when he first preached, about when he was at Waterbeach in his first pastorate at 17. And then he goes to Metropolitan, actually, it's New Park Street Chapel at the age of 19. And then you're going to hear about Exeter Hall and Surrey Gardens and how he met Susanna and his illnesses and how he had trouble with slavery and the injustices of empire, the downgrade controversy. Did I mention his health and how he died and all the things in between, like his pastor's college, his starting the orphanages, the one for boys, the Stockwell Orphanage in 1867, and then the women's orphanage and the girls' orphanage in 1879. You see all of this, and then his censure from the Baptist Union and his ultimate leaving of that in 1888. I mean, they're all going to cover that. They're all going to cover that. And so what the biographies do are just helpful to help us possibly find just a little bit more of something that we may not have seen before. So this is a piece of evidence of a biography, tiny, just a little one, just to kind of like an hors d'oeuvre, an appetizer to wet your whistle. Well, I just got this one in today. Alex DePrima, who is turning into and is already a first-rate Spurgeon scholar. And so through Reformation Heritage Books, this is a newly minted copy of Spurgeon, A Life, Michael Reeves, whom we've heard a couple of times at the Spurgeon Library Conference. And in fact, he's written one, Spurgeon, A Life, right? So Michael Reeves, you see that here. We're going to get to some of these over here in a bit. But I was opening this up, and the first thing that I saw was what Stephen Lawson wrote. Now here what's being said here, and I'm not going to make more of this than there is, but we cannot read enough about the far-reaching influence in life and ministry of certain men in church history. Charles Haddon Spurgeon was one of those great luminaries. This pulpit giant lived the life of 10, 20, or even 30 men. Yet, here is yet another biography that I believe you will find both instructional and inspiring. So what Lawson here is saying, we can't read enough about him, which means there's a lot to read about him. Thankfully so. And here he says, here is yet another biography, which is also telling that there's a lot of biographies that are out there about him. And so even in DePrima's book, he has a little section here, why another biography? I did the same thing, another biography of Spurgeon. So what he seeks to do here with this is to provide more research that he has found. This is excellent, but also to course correct on some really terrible biographies that are out. And I'm glad he brought these out. And I got this book over here by Tom Nettles, but he's talking about a couple of biographies that stand out. W.I. Fullerton's C.H. Spurgeon, a biography, and J.C. Carlisle's C.H. Spurgeon, an interpretive biography. And these are people that knew Spurgeon. And so I don't know if there's a lot of bias that's there, but at least it gives us an idea of what Spurgeon was like from someone who knew him and people that knew him. I came across this in my PhD work. Patricia Krupa's Charles Haddon Spurgeon, A Preacher's Progress. Boy, she is trying to make Spurgeon a flaming liberal and someone that, well, I mean, he uses the word distorts. So you got to be careful, but not all biographies are created equal. And here's one that he talks about, which up until recently has been considered, because of its scope, has been considered one of the one of the treasures, I guess, although there are problems with it, is Lewis Drummond's book, Spurgeon, the Prince of Preachers. What I like about this, where I put it, what I like about that is every chapter is based upon some little phrase from Pilgrim's Progress, which is just gold, because that's Spurgeon's favorite book. But I want to just interact with what DePrima is saying here. A decade later, Lewis Drummond put forth a massive biography, massive being about 900 pages, entitled Spurgeon, the Prince of Preachers. Beyond its excessive length, Drummond's work is seriously flawed, replicating numerous errors from previous accounts and introducing new ones of his own. Though in some way helpful, his biography cannot be safely endorsed as a reliable guide for Spurgeon's life. And yeah, as I was going through this as well, he's trying to make Spurgeon into something, whether it's political or how he dealt with justice issues. And just moving things along in Spurgeon's previous accounts that just really aren't so. And so I'm appreciative. So what we see here is that these biographies that are coming out are just showing that there's more and more Spurgeon scholarship yet to be found, but it's also a course correction. These books are intended to course correct on a deep level to make sure that we're getting Spurgeon's life right, because there's been so much that's written about him. Again, a testimony to his life and ministry, but also that means that there's going to be a lot of errors that are going to be propounded. So here's some biographies that I'd like to recommend to you. Yeah, here, Michael Reeves, Spurgeon, and the Christian Life. And this is part of the Alive in Christ series. And I love Michael Reeves's writing because there is a joyfulness to his writing, a substance, yes, too, of course, but there's a joyfulness to his writing, and the way he turns a phrase will just keep you moving forward so very well. But he leans in on the Christian life. This one is fun. This is one by Clive Anderson. C.H. Spurgeon, in the footsteps of the Prince of Preachers. Now, if you're listening via Spotify or one of your favorite podcatchers, then you're not going to see this. But what it does, it includes, sure, pictures, but maps. It's almost like if you're going to go on a travel guide. Well, that's what it says, travel with Charles Spurgeon. So it's like a travel guide. If you were ever to go over there, this is the book that you would want. And it includes some fantastic nuggets about Spurgeon's life and ministry. It's just absolutely wonderful. Most of these books that you can get on Amazon and get them very cheaply, but DePrima mentions J.C. Carlisle's Charles H. Spurgeon, really good. G. Holden Pike's, he had a 6-volume biography of Spurgeon that is, well, you'll drown. You'll just flat out drown. But this is a piece that's here where you're able to really get a sense. I mean, it's just a few pages, maybe about 115, 120 pages, but it'll really give you a sense of what he's all about. Now, normally we're talking about biographies, but this is very autobiographical, the letters of Charles Haddon Spurgeon. So you read through these and you see all the ups and downs and ins and outs, the ebbs and flows of his ministry and of his life. It's written from his own pen. I'm really grateful that Ian Murray has provided some really helpful notes on this as well to help with his life and ministry. You see there right at the very beginning. You got a few pages that are there. Gold, absolute gold, banner of truth. You've done it again. Let me see what else we got here. I mentioned W.Y. Fullerton. So how about that little caricature here of Spurgeon? But Charles Spurgeon, a biography, very, very readable. But again, you want to get these biographies of people that actually knew Spurgeon and actually saw him. These are very, very helpful. These are just the things that you want to make sure that you're not forgetting. All right, so this is the first biography that I ever read of Spurgeon, and it's Arnold Dallimore's Spurgeon biography. What a wonderful read. Now, Dallimore has written biographies on other men. The ones I'm thinking of now are George Whitefield. But Dallimore is really good. And he wrote this back in 1985. It's been through a number of prints. And again, Banner of Truth, you've helped us out again. This is a very sweet, very, very personable, very readable, but very well-researched book. And I would say that on a popular level, this was one of the books that started getting Spurgeon back into the evangelical consciousness. And so it's how many books? About 239, 250, I'll just say 250 pages if you want to count the footnotes in the back. But I remember about 15 years ago, I was reading this on vacation, and I wasn't being very social to my family because I could not put this book down. I had to get away and I had to read more and more. And this was the book that, looking back, really drove down how much I appreciated, admired, loved, and am praising God for Spurgeon. So Dallimore, take a look. And then here's another one. This was written, I want to say 1967, but that is probably, that doesn't feel right. Well, that should not go by my feelings because it was in 1967. Ernest Bacon, Spurgeon, heir of the Puritans. And this is a well-researched book. I'm not sure how much it made it around, but this is from Christian. The one I have is from Christian Liberty Press. And so if you go to the Spurgeon.org website, the Spurgeon Library website, they have, back in 2017, they have a list of 12 must-read Spurgeon biographies, which was really helpful. But there's been a lot of really good biographies that have been written since 2017. But here's what they have to say about Ernest Bacon. In this well-researched biography, Bacon unpacks an important facet of Spurgeon's ministry, his love of Puritan literature. Assisted by Martin Lloyd-Jones, Bacon reveals Spurgeon's indebtedness to Puritans like Thomas Brooks, John Bunyan, Stephen Charnock, Richard Sibbes, and others. If you want to know the origins of Spurgeon's theology, you'll appreciate this 184-page work. As Spurgeon once said, the modern men would be rich if they possessed even the crumbs that fall from the table of the Puritans. Yeah, you can find this on Amazon very, very easily. So this is Ernest W. Bacon, Spurgeon, heir of the Puritans. Let me see what else we have here. I think there's maybe a couple more. No, I think that'll do. Oh, this one right here. Living by Revealed Truth, The Life and Pastoral Theology of Charles Haddon Spurgeon by Tom Nettles. 700 pages, but you're thinking 700 pages double columned. This is absolute gold. And I mean, this may be more academic in nature than maybe for some of you, but don't let that throw you. I would still read this. I'd still get this. I'd have it on the shelf. I'd work through it because he is covering so much. And a lot of what he's covering here was found in his magazine, The Sword and the Trowel. And so he goes to the actual source of what Spurgeon and some of the other writers of The Sword and the Trowel were writing. And you'll just benefit greatly from it. This is one of my very, very favorite biographies to read as well, because it really gets and drills down to the nuts and bolts of all that Spurgeon is. If you want to also, I shouldn't miss out on this, Helmut Thieleke's book, Encounter with Spurgeon. So Thieleke was a German theologian, and this was written, so just make sure I get this right. Yeah, 1964. And the things that he has to say about Spurgeon, it's like, because one of the things about Spurgeon, this is why this is so important. I'll put it this way, because for whatever reason, there are people that think that Spurgeon is not really much of a theologian, but yet one of the top tier theologians of the day said that he didn't want to do, he could not do without Spurgeon. He is always benefiting from Spurgeon. And so as you read through this, you'll find that there's a lot of gold that is here, but the fact that Thieleke took so much time to make sure that he was interacting with Spurgeon and making sure that the rest of us were interacting with Spurgeon is just what, yes, here's the quote. I wasn't originally going to be talking about this, but when he says, sell all that you have and buy Spurgeon, there you go. So, Encounter with Spurgeon, Helmut Thieleke. Now, of course, you don't want to miss out on the biographies or the autobiographies. The entire autobiography, I keep wanting to say biography because we're talking about biographies, but the entire autobiography of Spurgeon is found at spurgeon.org, the Spurgeon Library website. But for a long time, what we had were these by, you guessed it, Banner of Truth. And these two biographies, The Early Years and The Full Harvest, that's a great place to get started. That's a great place to get started. And if you want to dig in a little more on the autobiography on the Spurgeon website, then you can just go crazy because it is absolutely free. So biographies. Why are there so many? Well, as we talked about at the beginning, there's more about Spurgeon that we're learning all the time, and thankfully we're learning more about him, but it's not anything that will take away from the consistency of his life and ministry and his love of Jesus. He's still maintaining that consistency. But these biographies do also need to be written to introduce new generations to Spurgeon, to course correct from previous generations. And plus, I think it's good for every publisher that may be dealing with life and ministry in the church to have some, like this one with Acoma Press that I did. I mean, it's just, this is an hors d'oeuvre. This is just a little gateway to get you to dig in a little deeper. And I think it's good for publishing companies to have something like that because we're really all in this together. I want to tell you before I break off of here, Ray Rhodes, who has written, well, let's get Ray Rhodes over here, making sure he's being well represented. So he wrote Susie. It's such a great book. And you understand why Susanna Spurgeon, was such a great partner in ministry for him. This is a golden book. And here's another one, Yours Till Heaven, the Untold Love Story of Charles and Susie Spurgeon. Well, Ray Rhodes is going to be and is working on right now a biography of Spurgeon that will rival the life and scope of this. It's going to be like that. I can't wait. He is a dear brother in the Lord, dear brother in the ministry. But these biographies help us out greatly. And so I've given you some, and I'll make sure I put some of these in the notes, but I'm going to give you my top 5 biographies. Now I'm switching. Now I'm going autobiography. I'm going to give you the top 5 biographies that I think will be of great help to you. But if you've read a Spurgeon biography that I haven't covered, let me know, because we got to make sure we're getting this right. We got to make sure we're getting Spurgeon right. because he is so influential even now after all these years. So before I close, I just want to let you know that if you happen to be in the Longs Peak Baptist Association here in Colorado, that on Sunday, September the 22nd, I'll be doing about 20 to 25 minute workshop on Spurgeon and resilience. And all of you that may attend, hopefully we'll have enough books to be able to pass out to you. But I'm really thankful that I get to talk about Jesus and to be able to pull in Spurgeon to show what Spurgeon meant to what Jesus meant to Spurgeon and what Jesus can mean to us, and to be able to help us to move forward well and stay resilient in life and ministry. Okay. So again, my name is Matthew Perry. All Around Spurgeon is the name of this ministry, but I'm also pastor at Arapahoe Road Baptist Church in Centennial, Colorado. If you happen to be in the area in South Denver, stop on by. We're always ready to meet new friends and make new friends, but also to make much about Jesus. Our aim is to connect all people to the truth and hope in Jesus, and we want that for you as well. So if you have any questions, leave some in the comments, or there's ways to be able to get a hold of me offline, whatever the case may be. Let's move forward well together in our walk with the Lord. Thanks a lot, everybody.